Hey everybody, Dr. Rob DeMartino here with Beyond Functional Medicine, and in this series of videos, we want to start answering the question, which I get really commonly, is what makes Beyond Functional Medicine different, right? You know, there's a lot of different options when it comes out there of functional medicine programs and different ideologies behind it, and the question that we get pretty consistently is what makes this program a little bit different. So, in that being said, we got to define terms, right? So what is functional medicine? And it kind of almost lacks a certain definition, but the closest thing that we have is basically trying to get to the cause of disease. Great, sounds great. Love the idea of it, right? That's what it should be. Ultimately, our job as doctors should really be trying to get down to what actually causes diseases. That said, going from that to then how it's practiced, the typical practice of it is run a truckload of labs and then give either nutritional advice based off of that and dietary considerations, or usually a tremendous amount of nutritional supplements is basically how the program works. So when it gets down to it, when we're saying there's this idea of, okay, we want to find what causes disease, really the only cause of disease that exists in a functional medicine world is nutritional deficiencies, right? That's it, because that's all we're really doing. We're changing up dietary things and we're basically just putting in a tremendous amount of supplements to try to resolve nutritional deficiencies. Now that exists, right? You obviously want people to put in premium fuel. If we want this system and this engine, this body to run well, you want premium fuel in there. I get that. That makes total sense to me. I'm with it. But when it comes down to just treating it with nutrition, unfortunately, there's about 5 diseases that have ever been caused by nutritional deficiencies, and they're pretty much all extinct at this point because we know way too much about this. There's way more nutrition than that we all are obviously getting. Those like the diseases like scurvy and pellagra, all those guys are gone. You know, they don't really exist anymore. So when we're doing this just nutritionally, or when we're doing it just to try to find this idea of the causation of disease, there's a very real limit of how far we can take somebody when we're just doing it with nutrition. Again, it's not that you can just say you can eat whatever you want and do whatever you want. There are certain dietary restrictions that you have to follow. But really what functional medicine needs to be, and the core philosophical difference between Beyond Functional Medicine and anything else, is we're looking beyond just nutritional deficiencies, although we check that too, of all the other places where the body can potentially become out of balance and then get sick, and where chronic disease will start to grow and build. This seems a small distinction, but I promise you it is not. The biggest concern with functional medicine is it's very confusing. There's a tremendous amount of moving parts, and it's very difficult to put into the office because the sheer amount that you need to know, the sheer amount of supplements you need to carry, the way that we're trying to micromanage the body becomes incredibly difficult. The problem that is caused by that is because we don't have a philosophy of what we're trying to do. There's very simple ways that the body is designed to work, and that each one has a step by step. Some of it is biochemistry and some of it is not. Some of it exists in the formation of energy components and energy transfer. That's where you have to look. When the body breaks those natural laws, that's where somebody will start to get sick. And that's what Beyond Functional Medicine became. It became this bigger view of what could cause the body to get sick, including biochemical imbalances, but everything else, and how you would evaluate that, and then how you would go about in a system to deal with those problems. And once you have that, every single person who walks into your office can be put under that model, no matter what they're dealing with. Of course, there's little offshoots of what needs extra help. You know, if it's an autoimmune disease, if it's a neurological disorder, if it's a chronic fatigue syndrome, there's going to be more commonality of the way that they break those rules and the way that you help individual people. But the reality of it is most of the heavy lifting, 80%, comes from this general idea of this is how the body is supposed to work when everything is going the way that we want it to, and this is how it doesn't work when these different problems will arise, above and beyond just biochemical type of nutritional deficiencies. Think of it this way. Putting premium fuel into a car that has a broken engine is a nice idea, but doesn't get you very far. Fixing the engine, and putting in premium fuel, that's the combination of how everything works. So again, you know, thinking about this from a philosophical standpoint, it's a humongous distinction. You know, when you have an idea of what works off of, you know, every natural healing methodology has it except functional medicine. You know, acupuncture to a point has the meridian systems. Chiropractic has nerve interference, right? So the nervous system is master controller. The body heals through the nervous system. Clearing that of any interference causes the body to heal well. It's this one basic thing that everyone in the chiropractic world will typically agree upon, right? And that's how you get results. You're just taking that same idea and applying it into multiple different ways in a very systemized form of being able to check it and treat it. And once you do that, it's very easy to explain to patients. It's very easy to explain why you're getting the results that you're getting. It's easy to market it. It's easy to actually physically put it into your office and start doing it on a day-to-day basis with patients, because you have this core philosophy you're working from. Because right now, finding the cause of disease is a great ideology, but it sounds nice on paper, but it doesn't really work in everyday practice life. So those are some of the biggest things, and that, to me, that's the most important thing, which is why on the first day of my seminar, I always just end up talking about science and philosophy based behind everything that we're trying to do. Because if you hit those high notes, those high points of leverages, all of a sudden then the body will start healing itself. Functional medicine becomes unmanageable when you're trying to multi-manage and micromanage a system that cannot be micromanaged. Put the big things in place, work off of a system, know how to evaluate it, know how to deal with it. And if you can do that, the body will start healing. And believe you me, it will start healing on a level above and beyond what we've traditionally seen in functional medicine models. So hopefully this makes some sense. You have to have a guiding philosophy. It's what's got natural healthcare this far, up to this point, and it's what's failing the medical model as well too, as we sit here talking about it. Because if you have to keep changing who you are, your core philosophy is not right. Sure, you always want to improve. I'm all for that. But you have to have that core philosophy that you're just making improvements to get better results, not changing everything at the source. If you find yourself doing that, you might have to reevaluate your whole philosophical ideology that you're underneath. That's the underpinnings of everything that we're doing. Hopefully that makes some sense. It's the core foundation of Beyond Functional Medicine.